So for the most part, I only cover gold rarity servants here on the channel because those are the premium units, the 4 and the 5 star big boy units. However, I feel like there's this common misconception and this issue for newer players where they feel like the lower rarity servants are not as good as the gold rarity ones, which if you play other gacha games, that does make sense. If I play Dokkan Battle, I'm not going to waste my time getting the SRs when the SSRs and the LRs are the units that you want to use. Same thing for something like Bleach Brave Souls. You want to stick to your 6-star units and not the 4 and 5 stars. Mostly every gacha out there has a rarity system, and the higher the rarity, the better the unit. However, one of the things that I really do enjoy about Fate Grand Order is that all of the servants are viable. They all have some purpose. Even someone like Matahari or Caligula that are not seen as being very good do have some purpose, and under the right circumstances can be used effectively. Although granted, some are easier to be done than others, and usually the 4 and the 5-star servants are the ones that get the most love. However, with Gouda 3 being out, I thought with Medusa going on raid up, I would make this video to really promote the idea that yes, these 3-star servants are actually very, very good. They're very viable and you should level them up. As when I made my FGO account, Medusa was one of those servants that really helped me get through the game, especially with farming QP. So looking at Medusa's deck, it's definitely something that we're not used to seeing here on the channel. We're used to seeing very high hits, like 5 hits on the extra attack. But you gotta remember that Medusa is a start of the game unit. She came out with the game. She is very old. And on top of that, she is a lower rarity servant. So they gave all the good hits to people like Gilgamesh when they came out like a month after the game's release. She's packing 2 hits on 2 quick cards, 3 on 2 arts cards, 1 on 1 buster, and 3 on her extra, which is very subpar, especially considering that her NP charge per attack is 0.58% and her star gen is 9%. Which basically means her hits suck cock willy. They are not good at all whatsoever by any conceivable means. You can try to give her some concessions here or there, but like, let's just face it, her hits are not very good. However, considering that she is a lower rarity servant, we actually have some pretty decent skill effects on her. Her first skill allows her to stun one enemy for 1 turn on a 6-turn cooldown, which unfortunately she is an AoE servant and she's a 3-star, meaning you're probably just going to be using her for standard farming. You're probably not going to bring her to a challenge quest, but sometimes, again, you're a newer player and you don't have anyone better. So if you do need to bring Medusa as, say, a secondary DPS, you're fighting a challenge quest where there's one main big boy boss and then there's a bunch of little small enemies around them, Medusa can really help out in stunning and keeping that boss locked down, as well as being an AoE so she can take out some of the smaller enemies that surround them. But again, if this was on like a premium 5-star servant, this would be like an AoE stun, or it'd be like a stun plus a quick debuff resistance. There would be a lot more going on here. However, her second skill is actually very simple and quite good. It is a 30% attack buff that lasts for 2 turns on a 5-turn cooldown, which this I feel somewhat contributes to why Medusa can even do an acceptable amount of damage, because her attack buff is just very, very high. It's a very decent attack buff. And pairing it with, say, someone like Scotty is really going to help these buffs multiply into each other and have her do a decent bit of damage. Finally, you may notice that your Medusa does not have a 3rd skill when you fully level her up, and you might be freaking out and being like, what did I do wrong? Why does my Medusa not have a 3rd skill? And the reason is, a lot of servants back in the day did not come with their 3 skills. Sometimes servants would only have 2 skills. And this was actually used to kind of power creep the lower rarities from the higher rarity. 5-star servants came packing with 3 different skills, and that made them really, really good. Whereas a lot of other servants will only have like 2 skills. However, about a year ago, FGO went about fixing all of that and giving all of the 3-star and lower servants their 3rd skill. And Medusa's 3rd skill was just what the doctor ordered. She got a 20% battery and 30% NP generation for 3 turns, all on a 6-turn cooldown. Meaning, this gives her a battery, which as long as you have something like a K-scope, you can actually just auto farm with her, have her be a wave clearer. And if you're doing something like a challenge quest, having the extra NP generation is going to help her out in getting her NP back after firing it the first time. Now, unfortunately, Medusa's NP is really not built to be looped, because spoiler alert, it only has one hit, so I don't know how well it's going to be going for you, but the thought counts, right? The thought is there, and they're at least trying to extend a bone to her. Surprisingly, she does have a large amount of passive skills. She has 4 different passives, and all of them are quite good. They all do help her out in some way. The magic resistance gives her almost 20% debuff resistance, which means about 1/5 of the time you're just going to neg any debuffs, which is a nice thing to just have passively. Independent action gives her a little bit of base crit damage. Writing gives her a very solid 11% quick performance all the time. And then divinity as well. Divinity, it just gives you a little bit of extra bonus damage on top. It's a little bit of icing on the cake. I wouldn't concern yourself too much with it. However, then we have her NP, which used to be kind of poo-poo stinky, and now it's actually really solid. And this is kind of where I say Medusa goes in as like a secondary DPS and can have some utility even in like those big hard challenge quests, because she does damage to all enemies, but instead of having them focus on making her do more damage, like giving her a quick performance before she attacks or increasing her NP damage, both of the effects on Medusa's NP are support based and they're going to help the entire party out. The first effect that she has reduces all enemies' critical attack chance by 20% for 3 turns, basically trying to cover your team from getting ass blasted by some crits, which, especially moving into stuff like Lost Belt, and even if you're a newer player moving into Epic of Remnant when you're moving into 1.5, the enemies become very crit happy very quickly. So having a way to reduce the amount of crits that you're going to have to take is going to extend your survivability very well. But then finally, the other effect that I think is really good is that she increases the party's critical star generation rate from 50 to 100%, which I don't think you're ever going to get to 100% because that requires overcharge 5, and that's a lot of work. But even just the 50% for 3 turns is very solid, and again, it applies to the entire party. So while Medusa herself, with her 1-hit NP and her 2 hits on her quick cards, is not really going to be genning all that many stars, this will somewhat help her out a little bit, especially in a quick change. She can drop a decent bit of stars, but this is going to be very good for, say, your primary DPS, the person you're actually using in this challenge quest or this boss fight. It's going to allow them to actually gen a decent bit of stars. You could also use Medusa as somewhat of a pump and dump character because of her low cost. You can have her come in, stun an enemy, buff her attack, you know, give herself her own NP, pop her NP, give yourself a nice little buff, give your allies a nice little bit of survivability, and then just let her die or something. So honestly, is Medusa like super good, amazing? No, not necessarily. There are way better, higher rarity riders you can use that fit her role. Astolfo at least has a 50% battery. Drake does some pretty decent damage with the 50% battery. Iskandar does the star dropping thing better and does the damage thing way better. Odysseus is like an arts looping meme rider. There's just so many other options you could use, but the benefits of using somebody like Medusa is, 1, the team cost is very low because she's a 3-star, and the requirements to leveling up her skills are also very cheap. It costs far less QP, which I know is a problem for a lot of masters, and the material cost is very low as well. Although, for whatever reason, they made Medusa need 7 hearts for each of her skills, so if you're a newer player, be wary of that. It's generally cheaper, but I don't know why they threw that in there. And those are some of the benefits of using a lower rarity servant, but I know I have a lot of newer players that watch these videos, and I do want to start focusing on some of the lower rarity servants because they probably like get all these gold servants like when they initially start their account, because I know a lot of people, I know a lot of you buy your quartz accounts and you do a lot of summons on a banner you like, and you get a whole bunch of random servants and you're like, I gotta level up all the gold ones because those are the good ones. But in all reality, there are tons and tons of very solid 3-star and lower servants that you have at like NP5 that are going to perform way better than, say, your NP1 Astolfo or something. So with that being said, let me know in the comments down below if, you know, this kind of opened your eyes a little bit, maybe made you think, maybe you already knew, you're already super based and you already use your 3-stars all the time. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like to see me cover more lower rarity servants as well, because I would love to talk about some of these other servants that have kind of helped me in the early game and really helped me out when I was playing the game. I wish these were things that people told me, that these servants were actually really good, because it would have saved me a lot of pain and heartache. So let me know in the comments down below, leave a like and subscribe, and it's been your boy ZTL. I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day.